Sometimes what breaks you isn't meant to destroy you. It's meant to direct you. The delay, the rejection, the heartbreak, none of it was random. Allah's plan is not always visible, but it is always perfect. When you feel anxious, remind your heart that this very moment was written for you by the one who never makes mistakes. You are not here by accident. Every test you face has been chosen with divine precision, not to punish you, but to purify you. Sometimes the heart forgets that pain itself can be a form of mercy, guiding us back to the one who truly matters. Even in your darkest hours, there is divine wisdom unfolding silently behind the veil of the unknown. Anxiety often rises when we try to control what was never ours. We cling to outcomes, timelines, and expectations, forgetting that peace doesn't live in control. It lives in surrender. The moment you whisper, "Ya Allah, I trust you more than I fear the outcome," something inside you begins to soften. Letting go isn't weakness, it's faith in action. You were never meant to carry the weight of every plan, only to walk the path that was written for you with patience and trust. The one who placed pain in your heart knows exactly how to heal it. He sees the tears you don't show, the prayers you can't find words for, the breath that trembles before sleep. In those moments, he reminds you in his book, indeed, with hardship comes ease. There is no storm without a sunrise, no wound without a cure, no silence where Allah is absent. You are seen, you are heard, and you are held in ways you may never fully understand. Sometimes Allah withholds not because He has forgotten you, but because He loves you too deeply to let you settle for less. What feels like rejection may actually be protection. What you call a delay may be the time needed for your heart to be ready for the blessing. When one door closes, it isn't the end. It's a redirection towards something more beautiful, more fitting for your soul. The peace you seek is not in forcing things to happen, but in trusting that Allah's timing is never late. You don't have to understand every chapter of your life to trust the author. One day, you'll look back and see that every unanswered prayer, every sleepless night, and every moment of confusion was leading you somewhere better. Your story is still being written with mercy, with purpose, and with love. True peace begins not when life becomes easy, but when your heart quietly whispers, "I trust you, Ya Allah, even when I don't understand." Anxiety often begins when we try to take control of what was never truly ours to control. We plan every detail, worry about every possibility, and convince ourselves that peace will come only when everything goes our way. But the truth is, this constant striving for control drains the heart. It makes us forget that Allah is the ultimate planner and that no amount of worry can change what has already been written. Sometimes, the more we cling, the more restless we become. There comes a moment when the heart realizes that letting go is not losing. It is returning. Returning to the one who always had control, even when we didn't. When we whisper, "Ya Allah, I trust you more than I fear the outcome," we begin to breathe differently. The burden that once felt unbearable starts to lighten. It's as if the soul finally remembers that it was never meant to carry the full weight of life, only the trust to walk through it with faith. Surrender is not a passive act. It is strength in its purest form. It means choosing trust over tension, peace over panic. It means believing that even when things look uncertain, Allah's wisdom is still flawless. The heart that surrenders doesn't give up. It rises above. It says, "I may not know what's ahead, but I know who holds it." And that realization changes everything. Every time you release what you can't control, you make space for peace to enter. You stop fighting what was written and start flowing with the rhythm of divine timing. You stop demanding answers and start finding comfort in knowing that Allah's plan is kinder than your fears. Slowly, the anxiety that once consumed you begins to dissolve, not because life is perfect, but because your heart has learned where to rest. True peace doesn't come from controlling life's storms. It comes from trusting the one who commands the winds. When you let go of the illusion of control, you don't fall. You're caught by the mercy that was always there. And in that moment of surrender, your soul finds what it was searching for all along: calm, safety, and the quiet assurance that Allah never leaves the hearts that trust Him. The one who placed pain in your heart knows exactly how to heal it. Every tear that falls, every sigh you release in the quiet of the night is known to Him. Nothing escapes His knowledge, not even the thoughts you keep buried deep inside. When you cry alone, thinking no one understands, He is there, closer than your own heartbeat, listening with mercy. There is no ache too small for His attention, no wound too hidden for His healing. He sees your sleepless nights and the weight that presses against your chest when the world feels heavy. He knows how hard it is to keep smiling when your heart is breaking, how difficult it is to trust when everything feels uncertain. Yet even then, He sends small signs of comfort, moments of calm, unexpected kindness, a verse that reaches your heart right when you need it most. These are not coincidences. They are His gentle ways of reminding you that He has not left you. When you turn to Him in prayer, even with trembling hands and tired eyes, you are already healing. Prayer isn't just about asking. It's about remembering who you're speaking to. It's about realizing that you are not facing life alone. Every time you whisper His name, something inside you softens. Your pain begins to lose its power because it can no longer stand in the light of His mercy. The promise still stands. Indeed, with hardship comes ease. It's not ease after hardship. It's ease within it. Sometimes the comfort is not in the situation changing, but in your heart being strengthened. Sometimes the miracle is not that the pain disappears, but that you can still smile through it. That quiet resilience, that calm that makes no sense, that is a gift from Him. You are never unseen and never unheard. Even in your silence, your soul speaks to the one who understands you completely. So when your heart feels fragile, remember who created it. The one who wrote your story knows every chapter, every pause, and every tear. And in His perfect timing, He will heal you in ways you never imagined, gently, completely, and beautifully. Sometimes when life doesn't move the way you hoped, it feels like you've been forgotten. You wait, you pray, you plan, and yet nothing seems to happen. The silence stretches, and the heart begins to question, why not now? But what you don't see is that sometimes the delay is a shield. Allah may be holding something back not to harm you, but to protect you from what your eyes can't yet see. What you call a pause might actually be protection, a quiet mercy wrapped in patience. There are times when we mistake stillness for abandonment, but in truth, Allah is most present in those pauses. The waiting season is not empty. It is where your heart learns to trust beyond sight. You may not see the wisdom right now, but every delay carries purpose. It could be that the thing you're waiting for is not ready for you yet, or perhaps you are not ready for it. Allah's timing is a form of love even when it arrives wrapped in silence. When one door closes, it doesn't mean your prayer went unheard. It may simply mean Allah is leading you to a door you wouldn't have chosen on your own. What you think you lost might have been replaced by something infinitely better, something you could only receive after growing through patience. His no is never rejection, it's redirection. It's His way of guiding you toward what will bring lasting peace instead of temporary satisfaction. The waiting itself becomes a teacher. It humbles the heart, softens the ego, and reminds you that you are not in control. He is. Every unanswered prayer builds a bridge of surrender between you and Him. Through the waiting, your du'as become deeper, your faith becomes firmer, and your heart becomes gentler. You begin to realize that what you truly needed all along was not the outcome, but the connection that waiting created. So don't despair when things don't go your way. Maybe they're going Allah's way, and His way is always higher, wiser, and kinder than yours. One day you will look back and see that the delay was never a punishment, it was preparation. Every unanswered prayer was a step leading you toward what was written for you, something more beautiful than you could have ever planned. When the storm of anxiety rages inside you and your thoughts begin to spiral, remember that peace is not found by trying to silence the noise of the world, but by remembering the one who created it. Dhikr is not just the movement of your tongue, it is the awakening of your heart. Each time you say, Subhanallah, Alhamdulillah, or Allahu Akbar, your heart realigns with its purpose. These simple words carry oceans of calm, washing away the heaviness that thoughts and fears create. When you remember Allah, even for a moment, the burden that once felt unbearable starts to feel lighter. It's as if the heart finds its home again. The remembrance of Allah is a refuge, a safe space where no anxiety can overpower you. Every whisper of dhikr sends light into the corners of your heart where darkness tried to settle. It doesn't erase the problem, but it changes the way you face it, reminding you that you were never facing it alone. Anxiety feeds on forgetfulness. It grows when we forget who is in control, when we forget that every heartbeat is sustained by His will. But the moment you turn your heart toward Him, the storm loses its strength. You begin to realize that you are not defined by your fear. You are defined by your connection to the One who can remove it in an instant. Dhikr is not an escape from reality. It's the only way to see reality clearly. Each word of remembrance is like a thread tying your heart back to peace. When you feel lost, say His name. When you feel trapped, call upon Him. When the mind says, I can't, let your soul whisper, Allah is enough for me. Slowly, the chaos within begins to quiet. You begin to breathe again, not because everything around you has changed, but because something within you has. True calm is not the absence of struggle. It is the presence of Allah in the middle of it. The world will continue to turn. Problems will still come and go, but a heart anchored in dhikr does not drown. It floats, it endures, it finds light even in the storm. And that light, the peace that flows from remembering Him, is the kind of peace no anxiety can ever take away. You don't have to understand every chapter of your life to trust the one who is writing it. There are times when the story doesn't make sense, when the pages feel heavy with pain and confusion. You look at your circumstances and wonder why everything had to fall apart the way it did. But every story has chapters that are dark before the light appears. The confusion you feel now may one day become the wisdom you share with others. Trust that the author knows where your story is going, even when you can't see past the next page. There will be moments when you question whether your pain has a purpose. You may cry out in silence, wondering if the delays and losses mean you've been forgotten. But the truth is, nothing you've gone through has been wasted. Every heartbreak, every disappointment, every closed door was shaping you into who you were meant to become. What breaks you now might be the very thing that opens your heart to deeper faith. The same pain that brought you to your knees might be what leads you closer to Allah than ever before. Sometimes Allah writes hardship into your story, not to hurt you, but to wake you. The easy chapters rarely change us. But the difficult ones purify us. They strip away our attachments to what was never meant to stay and bring us face with what truly matters. It is in those hard moments that you begin to discover that Allah was never absent. He was rebuilding you from within. What you thought was the end was only a beginning in disguise. The beauty of trusting Allah's plan is that you stop demanding to understand everything. You learn to live with a peaceful heart, even when the answers haven't come yet. You begin to believe that there is meaning even in the mess, that there is mercy even in the waiting. You stop trying to rewrite your story and instead find comfort in the one who is already writing it with perfect wisdom. Every delay, every detour, every unanswered prayer has a place in the divine script. One day you will look back and realize that everything unfolded exactly as it needed to. The pain that once felt unbearable will make sense in ways you could never imagine. You will see that every moment of loss led you to something greater, and every unanswered prayer was answered in a better way. And when you finally see how the pieces fit together, you will whisper with a full heart, "If that hadn't broken me, I would have never found him." A true peace begins the moment you stop asking, "Why me?" and start whispering, "I trust you, Ya Allah." The words, "Why me?" come from a place of pain, confusion, and resistance. They rise from the heart when life feels unfair and heavy. But peace begins to grow when you stop fighting what has already been written for you and begin to see your test as a conversation between you and your Creator. Every hardship carries a message, and every tear is a sign that Allah is still shaping your soul for something greater. When you say, "Why me?" you carry the weight of your story alone. You try to make sense of what only Allah fully understands. But when you whisper, "I trust you, Ya Allah," that same story becomes lighter, softer, and full of meaning. You stop standing against the storm and start walking through it with faith. You begin to understand that your pain is not a punishment. It's an invitation to draw nearer to the one who can turn every wound into wisdom and every loss into love. Trusting Allah doesn't mean you won't feel hurt or confusion. It means you learn to breathe even when you don't have all the answers. It means you believe that Allah's mercy is greater than your mistakes, and His plan is kinder than your desires. Trust turns fear into patience and heartbreak into surrender. It transforms what could have broken you into what actually builds you. There is a freedom that comes when you stop questioning every turn in your path and start believing that every turn has a reason. What you thought was a detour might be the road that leads you to peace. The moment you say, "I trust you," is the moment you let go of the illusion of control. It's when your heart finally finds rest, not because life became perfect, but because you stopped needing it to be. So when life tests you and nothing makes sense, place your hand over your heart and whisper, "I trust you, Ya Allah." That simple sentence holds the power to turn chaos into calm, fear into faith, and despair into hope. Because peace was never about having an easy life. It was always about having a trusting heart.